the first girl on the show would be the first girl for Colorful Tips is Amanda Thompson.
Yeah.
Say hi, Amanda.
Hello, everyone. Shout out to the ladies out there.
That's right. Amanda's here with her energy drink. She's ready to rock. I like that.
And I'm still here, too.
And my brother, Joe.
And Joe's still here.
Joe's still here. So, we didn't introduce Joe because he's like a...
Well, I just hide in the corner,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
That's
He's like
that's
a
what I
statue.
do. Anything to distract Sam, that's what I try to do on the radio.
Well, you know,
So-
I have noticed on the show that Joe is he's like the stable one. You know, Joe's like he's like the stabilizing force here.
It's
like
so true.
we need, you know, because
He's the calm one.
he is. He is.
Somebody has to have some common sense.
I have to keep, if you could see this, I have to keep moving the mic around and everything throughout the show just to stay in touch with it.
And Joe just sits down and he says, "Okay, I'm good for a half hour," and then he
Yeah.
gets up and leaves at the end.
Yeah.
Right. Simple gig.
Everybody, if you want to contact us, you can contact Sam Catania Painting at 814-866-2600, or you can contact Colorful Tips and ask us any questions you have about your home projects.
Yes.
Any questions about advertising, why we do our crazy commercials, anything about the history of our business, just anything. It doesn't matter what you ask. You can call us at
451-1400. See how good I take a cue? That's
see.
32
You
years
like
in
that?
radio,
You
my
like
friend.
that?
Boy, he's really good at that.
He was good. That was good.
Yeah, I saw that. Sam pointed, but
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was ready, though. I saw his lips. He was getting warmed up.
Yeah,
got his lips in the right shape. I get it.
Yes.
I was getting warmed up
Man,
for
it's
sure.
just like sitting on a podcast,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yep, not bad.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, this is a nice conversational show. And if you do want to call and ask a question, please feel free to do so, all kidding aside. But last week, I remember we started off talking about prep, because prepping your project, especially if you're doing it yourself at home, is where most people fail.
Correct. Prep is the biggest thing. Like we mentioned, anybody can apply paint to a wall, but very few people outside of a professional know how to prep properly.
Right.
You got to have patience to prep. It's even in my own house. I've struggled with just trying
So
to
I'm
get.
glad.
Well, yeah.
I'm glad she said that, because yesterday we were in the office and it was yesterday. Amanda made a comment and she said, "I love having a brush in my hand, but the prepping is the hard part."
Yeah, because everybody wants to get down to business. You want to see that transformation begin.
Yes. Yep.
And we didn't talk about this last week because we talked about, treating the surface and so forth. But there's also like a cleanliness issue, because if you start to get stuff in your paint, little bits of, detritus from the air, man, can that ruin your
Even
job
with
quickly.
dust, we don't wipe a lot of the surfaces before we paint them. You'll collect dust bunnies on your brush and get it on the wall. So, yeah, prep is very important.
That's a huge thing, and that's one thing that people don't want to do. You don't want to get that out there with your vacuum cleaner and your microfiber cloth and try to get everything off there, but you also don't want to look at that in your paint for the next
Right.
20 years.
Whatever's on your walls, just remember, if it's on your walls, you're going to be painting over it.
Right.
So you have to take special precaution to cleaning those walls with a tack cloth or whatever it is you prefer to use.
Yeah. And, and again, I always make a metaphor between this and like doing body work on cars, and you know how that is. If you don't get it exactly right, you're looking at that flaw in the paint or that wavy bit of Bondo. You're looking at it forever until you redo the job.
That's why it's very important. We had a conversation in the office this morning, and what I like to do when it comes to either cathedral walls, like cathedral ceilings or vaulted ceilings, would be, we like to point the customer out to push them into not a satin or an eggshell finish, but more of a matte finish. M-A-T-T-E.
Right.
A matte finish it's still washable, but it's not quite a flat finish, because flat is not washable. We like to... The thing is, with cathedral ceilings and vaulted ceilings, you have typically a lot of daylight that comes through. You have more
Right.
windows, a higher area. It's usually 2-story, and we push them into a matte finish, because with a satin or an eggshell finish, you typically get what we were talking about. You can see streaks.
Right.
And a lot of reflections, too.
Yeah, when that light, because you would obviously make a room or with cathedral ceilings to bring in light. That's the whole idea.
Right, and
unless you're a vampire, I mean, if you're living in Transylvania, you might want a big dark cathedral ceiling.
So we've had that where we have customers that will persistently. They have, let's just say, 18. I have one in my mind, 18-foot cathedral ceiling entryway. They want a dark color. Like a darker color. They have a lot of light coming through.
Defeating the whole purpose of having all the windows
purpose.
up on top like that. A whole bit.
Yes, and they really want. They're really persistent. They want a satin finish. Like, I'm not willing to do the job. I don't want to do that. That's going to make our paint job look terrible.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get a royal blue satin. If you want to do that, you have to drop down to a matte or a flat. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult when we've turned down jobs. If I can't make it look right, if I can't, as an estimator, if I feel the employees can't make it look right because of the sheen you picked, I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. We don't need the money.
Well, also, though.
Oh, we do need the money.
Well,
no, it's not about that.
I need the money, I'll tell you that.
It's not about that. It's about we don't need the money that bad based on the reputation that we're going to get.
Have people say, "Wow, who did that job?"
Sometimes the money's not worth the reputation.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right.
That's
very well put.
That's true in radio as well. Believe me, people think we'll do anything, but there are things I won't do, and things I won't endorse because I don't believe in them.
Correct.
And it's the same kind of principle.
It is.
But when you talk about the different finishes, and I'm sure all you guys can speak to this, people only know how they look. They only go on, well, I like the look of a satin, though, rather than the advantages and disadvantages of different finishes. Is that not right, Amanda?
Yes, that is correct. I like satin because it kind of has a little bit of shine to it, but I don't care for like matte because it kind of gives you like a dry appearance. But a lot of people like that, so it just depends on your preference of what you want to see every day in your home. So.
Right, and also the practicality of, as Sam was saying, some are washable, some are not washable.
Correct. Yes.
And it's great for the first couple of months after you get it painted, how great it looks, but then you've got to consider down the line when you need to maybe clean that wall.
And you really don't think you need to wash your walls that often until you do something, and then you realize,
until you become a painter and decide, now I know what's really going on.
Well, yeah, and we always the first thing you think of when you think of like you need to wash a wall, you think about kids, of course, but there's also just thinking in the places I've seen, there's also rooms where a lot of cooking is done. Well, talk about
kitchen grease is kind of a difficult situation.
Now I'm painting my house right now. We've been painting it over the weekend, and Amanda was there yesterday, and it's everybody. We know I'm weird. You don't have to point it out. I don't like considering it weird. I consider it exotic. So
okay, you can call it what you want.
my what I say, Sam. If you're going to be weird, be confident about it. That's it.
You have to own it.
You have to own it.
So I switched the woodwork from a white to a high gloss black.
Okay.
And all the walls are matte, which Amanda said she doesn't like matte.
And my first thought was that's going to be the ugliest room.
And Amanda, what's it look like?
It looks good.
It's really
it's
Sounds
so
very
weird
sharp.
because once you put the paint on, you're like, wow, I didn't picture it to be that way.
Yeah.
You have to have that eye, that vision.
Well, that's part of what you guys do. I mean, that's part of what being a good painter is all about. Besides the skills and besides the experience, is just having an eye and going, I think this is what's going to work here. Because people, they think they know exactly what they want, but they really don't.
There's a lot of times where we help with colors.
My
lot
brother.
of times.
Now, my brother, you remember this? You painted super high gloss white on his cabinets.
Yes.
Kitchen cabinets.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it was absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that took a lot of work.
Yeah. That was recent. That was a couple years ago.
Yeah. That took a lot of work.
Yeah. Kitchens are interesting, though, because I think of all the rooms in a house, they're the ones that now people get the trendiest about. That is the HGTV room. My kitchen has to have an island. I want this farmhouse kitchen. I want this kind of weird retro sink now. Well, when I was a kid growing up, people didn't want those sinks because that meant you did live in an old farmhouse.
Right.
In Waterford, which wasn't exactly HGTV land back then.
The old farmhouses didn't even have doors on the cabinets.
Right. Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
But that's where people get, I'm sure for you guys, they get very, I don't want to say selective, but they get very imaginative. Oh, I've seen this color, and I want this color, and I want this, and I want that. Probably more than any other room. Isn't that true?
Yes.
It is true, yeah, for sure.
Kitchens. And I do believe I have a kitchen to wallpaper pretty soon coming up.
You do.
And that's going to be different. I haven't done wallpaper in a while.
Yeah, I have to put it on instead of take it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's actually starting to trend back.
I was just going to say, it seems like wallpaper is coming back in.
Which is a good thing. I have the skills, and I can teach the younger crowd on my team.
But if wallpaper is coming back, this is my hope. I'm hoping that they've improved the technology just like they have with paint, because we talked about it a couple weeks ago. The old wallpaper, how it ages, removing it, just terrible.
It's
just
bad.
terrible.
It could be. You never know. We just did one. We started one Monday. And it's so bad because you don't have any idea how many layers are on it until you actually start tearing it off. And when I'm doing the estimate, I can't. I don't have the job yet. I didn't give them a price yet. I didn't officially land the job yet, so I can't just start tearing your wallpaper off to see how many layers are on it.
Oh, that's also true.
You got to be careful.
Yeah.
Right? You want to know how many layers there are. Are there layers beneath this top layer?
Sure.
We don't know, but I can't start tearing it off because what if you decide all the prices you've gotten are too high? And you're not going to do it. You're going to put your money somewhere else in your house. Mm-hmm. Now you have wallpaper that I tore off.
Right.
You can't. It doesn't work like that. You don't know how they prep the wall, like we said before.
Indeed.
You don't know if it's going to need skim coated, what type of glue they used. You're a specialty with that. That's your specialty there.
Yeah.
Glue, what a
I've found Elmer's glue underneath the wallpaper.
I bet you did.
And I'll tell you what, that is the hardest to get off.
I bet you did, because what happens with wallpaper, and that's a job that people always thought they could do for themselves, and then it's like, well, just this one corner. I just need to fix this one corner. Out comes the Gorilla Glue or the Elmer's or whatever they got, and not even thinking about what's going to happen in 20 years when
You don't think about that.
You don't.
You're not thinking 20 years down the road. You're thinking in the moment.
Right.
Yeah, with Elmer's glue, you literally have to dig into the plaster to get it off.
Bad.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the reason we started Colorful Tips, the reason we started this radio program with AC is to help the community, to help the do-it-yourselfers, the homeowners. Mm-hmm. All right, you're trying to save money. We're trying to do whatever we can to add to the community and to improve the community and help everybody. You don't have to hire us. That's not why we're doing this show. We're doing this show to help you, just so you don't do something wrong. There's so many different stages. Right. Yeah, you don't want to make a major mistake.
Well, because what every professional person, whatever you do, I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, you run a painting company. When you're at a party, what do people do? Hey, Sam, look, I got this issue. What's going on in my living room? There's
all the time.
This fading paint.
Constant.
Right? And so that's why we're doing this show. So at a party, you can actually enjoy
deal with
yourself
it all the time.
I deal with it constantly, too. All my friends and acquaintances.
Hey, I don't mean to talk, but I tried, and it's
hey,
okay.
What kind of material can I use to do so-and-so?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Well, yeah, I can answer you.
Amanda,
Sure, I don't mind
you
helping.
get it now that you're considered an employee and you've been in the industry for so many years.
Yes, I have some friends that want me to paint their house and fix all their stuff, so, yeah.
And we just
used to be back in the day, I would set people's stereos up. Or can you can you get in my car and set the EQ, because it doesn't sound good. I don't care what you do, you get those people.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And
sharing information is a good thing to do for reputation.
You guys may have a different opinion. The biggest thing I've noticed is that people do wrong as do-it-yourselfers, homeowners, woodwork. We want to switch our woodwork over from natural wood to a color. Well, did you only painted it? You didn't prime it? You didn't prep it?
Well,
no,
exactly.
we just painted it. I can't even help you with that. I can't help you because everything's going to fail down the road.
Well, especially because when you're talking about woodwork, and I just know this from having many more guitars than my wife wants me to buy in varying finishes. One of the nicest finishes is a satin finish on, say, mahogany, where you can see the grain.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And if you're just painting at home with just paint, on that woodwork, you are filling in the grain essentially, and you're not seeing the beauty of that.
Right.
Right. Oak is the same way. Oak trim is popular, so yeah, it's the same way. You fill in the grain and you see a little bit of it, but it's not like it was.
No.
And we just don't want to see you. People don't realize when you're doing woodwork. When I go into an estimate, and they say it's very common. I want my ceilings, walls, and woodwork painted. So I don't even give them an option. I will break it down. I'll give you a ceiling and wall price. I'm going to give you a different price on your woodwork. That way you don't think we're sticker shock. Because if I give you a total price, it's going to blow you away.
It's a lump sum, sure.
Yes. So I'm going to give you ceilings and walls, and then I'm going to give you woodwork, because the woodwork is probably going to be much higher than your ceilings and walls combined. Because there's so much detail, so much involved.
And people are only thinking like square feet. They're not thinking about all
area.
the work. Right.
I'm glad you brought that up. If you call us for an estimate, square feet doesn't help us.
Right.
Well, my house is 1,200 square foot. It doesn't help this living space. That only helps with ceilings and the flooring guides.
Right.
That doesn't help with the wall space.
Right.
We have to. If you really want to give us square footage, we need to know how much square footage are on your walls, how many sheets of drywall were hung.
Sure.
Otherwise, we have to come look at the estimate. We have to come look at your project to give you an estimate.
Yeah, a lot of people just want you to try to give you an estimate over the phone. Well, you can't say, well, I want this room painted. Well, okay, what color is it? Well, it's a blue. Well, you get in there, and it's navy blue, and it takes 5 coats.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
We just had it within the last couple of days. I'm not sure what day it was. Somebody called. They were upset with Tracy because she said, we need to get in there and see it. Well, I'm telling you the dimensions. It's this, much living space.
Right.
But that doesn't help us. We're not doing your ceilings. You said you only want your walls done. Living space doesn't matter when it comes to walls.
Sure, absolutely.
It's a big thing. People constantly call and want estimates over the phone. We can't do that. We don't. When it comes to commercial and industrial, we do a lot of commercial and industrial. Our formulas are based on square footage. But this isn't commercial and industrial. We never get calls based on commercial and industrial. Hey, I'm just looking for a price. No, they want us to come see the project.
Of course.
Only residential. And we don't have set pricing for residential because there's so many different variables, so much different detail.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even as simple as what kind of texture is on that wall.
Correct.
It makes a huge difference on how long our job takes.
Changes man hours, changes material.
Right.
Yeah, you can send us a picture, and then you have a hole in your wall, but you have a chair sitting in front of it, and we're not aware of it.
That's a really good point.
Really good.
That's a really good point.
Surprise, here's a 2 by 2 foot hole.
And another thing I see is if you have, you want us to give you a price on the phone. And it's not that we're declining to. It's not that we're rejecting you. We can't, because if you have, like my brother said, if you have a textured wall and then you have natural woodwork sitting against that wall, that's a lot of man hours to tape all that off.
Sure.
Or if you have paneling with grooves, you have paneling with grooves. Now it takes a lot longer, to brush in all those grooves off the woodwork.
Sure.
Yeah.
How about the houses where they put wallpaper on the paneling and the grooves are in the wallpaper? How about
That's what I had in my house when I moved in. And I was about to give up. I threw a few things and screamed.
I've had people ask to take that paper off the paneling and paint. It's cheaper to paint or just replace it.
Yeah.
Or to drywall over it.
To drywall over it.
It really is. And it's really cool. So when second generation opened in March, it's this month, March 21st, 2006.
Oh, yeah, it's almost our anniversary.
It is. It's coming up on our anniversary. I went down to Harrisburg and did some schooling down in Harrisburg and took the test for lead abatement. I wanted to get knowledge. I wanted to get the education for lead abatement.
Sure.
And it's really awesome to see. I was teaching a customer this yesterday on an estimate. He was really intrigued by it because he was curious because of his kids. We were inside the house, inside a bedroom. And he was asking, I don't know if it's lead or not. I tested it and this and that, and it come up negative. I said, that's not lead. You can tell how it's cracking. It's peeling. And it's so cool. If you have lead, people, you can jump in here. If you have lead-based paint and it's peeling and cracking, it's going to look like a city. It's going to look like squares and rectangles all the way down the wall in most cases.
Yeah.
Alligator skin. That's perfect. Yeah, it's squares and rectangles. He had peeling, they were just all random shapes, just abstract shapes. I said, that's not lead. He said, it come up negative. How'd you know that?
That's interesting.
It come up negative. My test come up negative, but how did you know from looking? See, he was really intrigued.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, it's abstract shapes. Amanda may or may not know this.
Yeah, I don't have too much experience.
Abstract shapes means it's not lead.
Right.
But if the top, I saw in one area where it was lead, where the top was peeling abstract, but beneath it, the layers beneath it were starting to crack like alligator skin.
Like an alligator skin, yeah.
Squares, rectangles, like a city.
Right.
Like a city, like Erie, like the blocks.
Yeah. Well,
I said, you have lead-based paint beneath that.
Good information.
Yeah, lead-based paint's kind of hard to deal with, even for us to scrape it.
Yeah.
You can actually taste the sweetness of lead when
And
you get the dust.
we will no longer do lead paint abatement. We won't do it.
Because customers can't afford it.
It's
period.
not a sell in Erie.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
It's just not.
That's why they have all these programs to have their lead abated from their houses.
Exactly, for sure. We're down to our last minute and a half. What do you think about that?
That went keeps going faster.
How'd you like
every
it,
week.
Amanda?
I know.
Not
I want
bad.
to throw a shout out. I want to throw a shout out to Corey Braden, Off-Road Tackle Box on Peach Street. Grand opening this Friday. This Friday, 6 to 9 p.m. Off-Road Tackle Box for off-road vehicles, accessories, lift kits, tires, everything you want. Amanda, did you have fun?
Yes.
Would you come back?
Yes.
Very cool.
Do you require an energy beverage for this, do you think? Or is that
Yeah, one or
maybe
two.
optional? One or
I
two?
did ask.
AC, it's all day long.
I asked Sam if I could take a couple shots, but I had to.
She
settle
did
for-
too. We were at the office. She said, we got to do shots. I said, I don't do shots. Sorry. All
Good try,
day.
Amanda. Good try.
Yeah. Well, someday you'll be like me with my half caffeinated coffee and
Yeah.
my biscuit in the morning.
Right,
Just
right.
taking it very easy. Sam, once again, since we got to wrap up, remind us once again how people can get in touch and find out more.
Sam Catania Painting, 814-866-2600.
All right. Thank you, Sam. See you next Wednesday.
Thanks, AC.
Amanda's like, you ain't going to see me next Wednesday. I'll tell you that much.
We're bringing her next week, Chris.
Right?
All right. Thank you, Sam, Amanda, and Joe.